Hello and thanks for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Let's remind you that it's exactly 73 days to the conduct of the 2019 general elections in Nigeria. So how ready are you for the polls? Today on the program, oil marketers give federal government 7-day ultimatum to pay 800 billion naira subsidy debt in cash. Governor Abdulaziz Jari sacks traditional rulers over alleged involvement in armed banditry. Says more to go. And later on the show, Buhari orders emergency procurement of weapons, welfare enhancement for troops as Defense Minister directs Burate to remain in Northeast until security improves. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Wale Adeoye, and Chris Kendi. Let the hangout start now. Glad to have you join us. Nigeria's over-reliance on oil as the major stimulant of the economy means that untold hardship is visited on citizens whenever something goes wrong in that sector. So some kind of jitters are hovering in the air as oil marketers gave the federal government 7-day ultimatum to settle outstanding subsidy debts totaling 800 billion naira, or they should be forced to shut, their depots across the country. The marketers, comprising major oil marketers, Association of Nigeria, Depot and Petroleum Product Marketers Association, and Independent Petroleum Product Importers, want the debts paid in cash, or there will be no respite. For most citizens, this could mean one thing: looming fuel scarcity and attendant hardship, especially with the approaching Yuletide. Jide, September 25th last year, I was in the United States and I was watching NTA News and I saw how Nigerians were gnashing their teeth, as in to get oil, to get fuel, the filling station. Some people spent their Christmas in the filling station when I saw that report. Now this is, December again, and if at this time the marketers, they're saying pay cash 800 billion naira or nothing, that means if they start negotiating, God forbid, I don't foresee another Yuletide spent, in filling stations for Nigeria. That would be too much. And it will be dangerous for a government that is seeking re-election. Where are we, Jide?
Yes, MOMAN is a pressure group. A pressure group with a difference. As I always say, petrol is a security product. You do not toy with it. And for so long, they've been asking for their due, and the government had been vacillating. Now they've chosen an auspicious time. To ask for the money. In December, demand for petrol peaks.
A lot of traveling.
People will travel. People on holidays, many people prefer to take their leave in December, so they will use a lot more petrol, to power their generators. In places where there's no power supply. Still, many of our communities do not have regular power supply. So at that time, the demand for petrol goes up. That was what happened last year, when NNPC fed Nigerians with a hefty diet of lies about what was responsible for the scarcity. What was responsible for the scarcity was their lack of vision. They didn't prepare that Nigerians at that time would need a lot more, greater supply. Instead, they were lying that Nigerians were hoarding. And the president who traveled abroad came back, read a statement to his countrymen in which he was threatening so-called hoarders of petroleum products. But he took the Senate public hearing to validate what some of us had been saying consistently. Even on this program, there were colleagues who were arguing with me, it always happens in December. Whereas in December 2016, there was no scarcity. People had forgotten. They said, oh, it's because it's December. But what happened was that NNPC had just taken over the burden of importing petroleum products without the capacity to do it, without adequate planning. And supply began to taper down as we approached the end of the year. So it was at that public hearing that the truth came out. Remember that the DPR, Department of Petroleum Resources, said that, yes, supply had gone down steadily. And some of us took it upon ourselves to go to depots. Depots where ordinarily they would lift like maybe 20 trucks. It came down to like 6 or 7. Yet a lot of us still prefer to believe in lies. But in the end, the Minister of State was forced to admit before senators that we had supply inadequacy. That's the word that he chose. So at least Nigerians who were misled at that time now know that what happened was that we didn't put enough supply of petrol in the market. We didn't put enough in the market at a crucial time when Nigerians naturally ask for more petrol. So at this time, this strike must not be allowed to happen. It will be irresponsible to allow this strike to happen. Because now the ultimatum, 7 days, is sufficient time for all the stakeholders to sit and ask for how to solve the problem without necessarily inflicting any pain on you and I. DMO, NNPC, everyone concerned, they should sit up and say, okay, how do we pay this? If we want to pay, okay, we want to pay, we can structure this. You don't have to pay at once. Now, those guys who are not unreasonable people, and they know that this is a crucial time for government. You have to spend money on the election and all that. You can actually structure a payment, come up with a payment profile that will make everybody happy.
At the end of the day.
But to just refuse to talk, to refuse to pay, even when the Senate and the Federal Executive Council had even approved payment of this subsidy debt, is what those guys could no longer sit with. And now they're asking for their money.
Wale, I don't know. How did you get here? How did you get to a tune of 800 billion naira? I know the federal government is having a lot of financial challenges. Now, I don't know where they are going to get this money from, as in 800 billion naira. What were we doing that we allowed the debts to accumulate, cumulatively, to rise?
Well, I think the marketers have a point. If you look at their demands, they are talking about banks taking over their assets and the fact that they could not pay salaries of their workers. And also that they've given this warning to the federal government several months ago. It's not a new thing. But I think beyond the 800 billion naira debt, there are all sorts of issues. This is not a new debt. It was carried over several years. I'm not sure if we have done enough diligence on the payment of subsidy to marketers. If you remember what happened in 2011, the federal government set up a committee that did, due diligence, they did a lot of investigation and all that. And they discovered about 325 billion scam, payments to marketers that didn't import any fuel. So that report was submitted to the federal government and nothing happened. So in as much as we need to pay these debts, the federal government must still roll back the tape, to avoid accumulated debt in the future. Because we've had cases of, subsidy scam, people being paid. About 21 companies were indicted in 2011.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That committee.
Led by Mokede.
Yes.
But nothing happened. Those companies, even some of them were invited to that committee and they did not turn up. So I think there are still a lot of, issues tied to this issue of this subsidy, issue. And I also believe that the federal government needs to define a long-term plan. They need to deregulate the market. There is no reason why Lagos State government, for instance, cannot import fuel. I mean, it's a bit centralized. There are about 116 marketers for almost, 170 million population. So I think we need to deregulate the market so that more importers will come, especially state governments, that are very huge, like Kano state government, Lagos state government, or even regional blocks. They should be in a position to import fuel. But I think as it is now, the federal government needs to negotiate with these marketers to avoid a stalemate. I believe if they cannot pay the 800 billion naira at once, they should work out a work plan, maybe over a period of 3 months, so that we can avoid another crisis as Christmas approaches.
CKN, I'm sure you want to go to Imo and for Christmas, and this is not the best time for anybody to threaten to go on strike. And
the average Igbo man doesn't spend his Christmas in Lagos. We must go home.
I trust you. That's why
we must go home. So I think we'll be the one appealing to the federal government to quickly do something. And
cost of transportation.
Yes, cost of transport is going to rise. The problem we've always had is that we've always had this fire brigade approach to issues. Okay. We've always had this fire brigade approach to issues until it gets to issue of warning strike and rest of it. It's not just limited to this government. Successive governments, even before this present government, it has always been the issue. Except a strike action or warning strike is given and the rest of that is when we used to. Are you telling me that, just as Jide rightly said, this debt is not something that was just accumulated in the past 3 months or 4 months and the rest of them? Some of these issues
they've even paid part of it.
They paid part of it, yes. They paid part of it.
Yeah.
You understand me? So look, this could have been structured. And knowing the fact that the marketers were very, very strategic and very smart. They've been waiting. They knew that the right time will come. If we were talking about this in July, August, and the people would and you know why? Strategic in the point that, apart from the fact that it's the yellow tape period, the election is also consecutive to election. So, in terms of logistics, we have to realize that close to 80% and 90% of movement across the country is always through roads.
Yeah.
And most of the logistic, yes, for the election, most of our logistic will be moved through the roads. Very few we use the helicopters or those the riverine area. But most of these logistics will be through roads. So it is also, this, you can call it economic sabotage, whatever you call it. But the fact is that they have a point. And just as Wale rightly said, they said the banks are taking over most of their assets. Because if you cannot repay, and you know why they're also calling for cash? They are saying that the the promising notes doesn't work again because of the accruing interest that comes. So it is a very delicate thing. I think the Ministry of Petroleum and DPR and do we still have PPRA?
Yes.
Well, I'm just
they fix the price.
PPRA and the major marketers should be able to come together and let us name them. We just have barely how many days to Christmas? It's going to be a problem.
Jide, the short time thing we look at, as in, we're talking about, federal government, what they can do to avert this, because we're looking at the hardship that this might create, and beyond that, the election. So, if they're asking for cash and they're saying 800 billion naira cash, Abi? Yes. What do you think these people are driving at?
No, because they think that promissory note can never take the place of cash. Cash is cash. You see it. Show me. The Americans will say, "Show me the cash." So this is, in their view, the best guarantee that they will receive the money when it is promised. At the stipulated time, they will receive the money. A promissory note, when it matures, then the money comes. It's just like you are writing a post-dated check, for someone.
Bounce.
No, it's not even a case of it bouncing. It's not a matter of it bouncing. They are not prepared to wait.
It's the time.
Because you could actually say, okay, you get this money so time, but they are saying, give us cash. So it's not a question of, a promissory note is commitment. But cash being paid to you is the stuff of reality. You know that, yes, you are taking this, no doubt about it, and then you can choose to do. These guys, we've made promises to them in the past. If we do not have a habit of honoring our obligations, this is what we get. Don't forget that even ASU, It's a similar problem. You had a meeting with
2009
ASU, you had an agreement, no, and then they decided to go on strike. You stopped the strike, and then made another promise. So at least you
Yet
should
to honor
fulfill-
that promise.
That is the thing. People tend to see government as a bunch of people who do not really honor their obligations. And once people have this mindset about you, they will always go for broke. Because what these guys are doing, in my view, is pure brinksmanship. And you really can't blame them. People are going through a lot. If the banks are on your case, you know what it looks like. You know what it looks like. You have no peace, and if you are not careful at the end of the day, what you have sweated for years will be taken over completely by the banks. It has driven many entrepreneurs to suicide. When you watch the bank, you cannot do anything, and you watch the bank take away your possession, and you are powerless. This is the sort of thing that these guys are facing, and I'm saying, look, I was reading a story in which the spokesman of NNPC said, look, we have enough supply, don't panic.
That's the normal propaganda.
But that is not the issue.
Stockpiled. enough,
It's ridiculous to be
last
talking about the quantum of supply that you have. That is not the issue.
Because
The
once
issue
demand
is
starts now.
no, the issue
It's
is how many outlets do you have?
They have. It's true.
Won't the major marketers and other people lift it for you?
Yeah.
When we wanted to reduce the pain that people were suffering the other day, we had to beg these marketers that they should do 24-hour lifting. So even if you have the product in abundance, as you are telling Nigerians, oh, we have supply, you cannot put all of it on the street by yourself. You need the marketers to come and load. If independent marketers have more filling stations than major marketers. In the Lagos Ogun area alone, they have more than 1,400 independent marketers. I mean, they have more than 1,400 outlets. So, or filling stations. So, you can imagine if they don't lift, will Maikanti Baru go and be selling? How many NNPC do we have?
You don't see those boys in kegs.
Yes, that is when. So this must not happen. Nobody wants to know whether you have a notion of imported petrol. What we need to see is this matter resolved. Resolved with a good plan that will ensure that everyone is happy. I don't think that those marketers too will be so callous as to want Nigerians to suffer. Not at this time. We don't want it. So they should sit together. Many people can live with even ASU going on strike for 6 months. It's happened before.
Not
9 months.
Yes, 6 months it happened. But petroleum marketers,
Not
if in one day, if
we have
they go on
shortfall for a
strike,
day, by the third day,
look, that's why I call it a security product. It is not the sort of product that you can joke with. It's the sort of product that can bring down a government. You know, it's the sort of, if it's not well managed, it will bring big problems. So, and I believe that, look, the National Assembly has looked at their claims. This is not something new. What is left for them, pay the forest component of it, and what the National Assembly forest component of the debt, and what the National Assembly and FEC approved. So it's not as if this thing, this is the time to start doing due diligence. That had been done. It's not like what happened, you know, in 2015, so a few weeks to the strike. We had to call them. I mean, a few weeks to the election, we had this problem, and Okonjo-Iweala said, okay, let us look at your claims. And it was discovered that the marketers presented an over-bloated bill. Both parties eventually agreed, and they said, okay, this is the debt. That has been handed over to this administration. This administration has inherited
clean copy.
that. Yes. So the administration has paid part of that debt, and it has to go on and pay the rest. If he doesn't have this, sufficient money to do that, I'm sure the Nigerians will agree. But they need to now appeal to the understanding of these guys that, look, you are gentlemen, you are patriots. We will pay, but we have to structure the payment plan in a manner that will not even hurt the country in any way.
Wale, why are we still importing?
That is a fundamental problem that we've not been able to solve for about 20 years. And in spite of all the millions of dollars, invested into trying to turn around maintenance and all that, I think it's a reflection of lack of vision on all the regimes you have had since 1999, that you have refineries, you produce crude, and yet you need to depend on importing the same crude. You sell the same crude to other countries, they turn it to refined products, and then you bring it back to this. Because if we can put the refineries in good shape, oil products will be cheaper because they are refined here. But when you take them abroad, the cost of landing, people will pay more. So I hope the federal government will look at a long-term plan so that in the next 3, 4, 5 years, then we can think of how to solve this problem permanently. The permanent solution is for us to produce, to refine oil here and then, sell, the products to our own people at a cheaper rate.
The Saudis are still building refineries.
Yeah. They're still building refineries.
So it shouldn't be, it's not a rocket science.
I think Aliko Dangote is
yes, exactly. That's why.
Is it 2020?
2 years.
Yes, about 2 years time. That's one of the solutions that the federal government is banking on.
We don't have more players in that industry.
But the most interesting part of it is that I knew that towards the end of the last administration, some licenses were given out. About 19 or 20, I can't remember the number now.
Where the refineries?
Where had the people? The reason is that, from what I know and what I believe, is that the incentive is not there. The incentive is not there.
The sector is not
The sector is not
nobody
regulated, so nobody will put his money. Yes,
and there's one fixed price for
nobody. I come with this thing, then you now fix price for me. It's not.
No, they won't.
The other side, it won't happen. Which was why
invest my millions.
We've always had a critical example from the telecom sector. What happened? When we started the GSM, this thing, it was deregulated, and everybody were doing their own thing, and the rest of them. Then at the time, the trust level. You remember that at a point when we started, we were buying phone and
per second billing was not possible.
That is what I'm saying. Yes, until Glow came. Exactly,
Yeah.
That is the same thing we can do. But a situation where you say no, the price for
we are
petrol,
buying a SIM for 31,000.
and those Samsung phones then and rest of Nokia, what? So that is the issue. If you now say that the prices of petrol must not go beyond a certain 131, 120, and it becomes very, very necessary for them to invest in that kind of a sector. So that is why they are not finding it viable. That is true.
Why is that sector not attractive? Where are the modular refineries? What is happening? Must we have this big refinery to know that we want to refine crude oil? Why are the small ones?
No, the modular refineries are easy to put together. Within months, you can actually build a modular refinery, but people are not attracted to build those modular refineries. And the government has said, look, we are going to build modular refinery. The vice president made that pledge. We are waiting to see when that will come to fruition, because you see, a state like Lagos, you actually have a small refinery, a small refinery that will serve the needs. Every refinery shouldn't be as big as Dangote. So Dangote's refinery is going to be one of the biggest in the world.
Really?
Yes, 650,000 barrels a day.
650,000 barrels.
Yes, that is big. It's one of the biggest in the world currently. So, what will serve Lagosians alone? There should be a refinery. The state should have. That's the way it is in America. You see, even small states have their refineries. Then the big states like Texas, they have many refineries, maybe about 20-something refineries in one state. And we have our country. In the real sense, we have just three refineries. In the real sense of the word.
Maybe they are working optimally.
No, we are recording losses on them. Every time we are doing turnaround, and we are not really getting anything. Yeah. If the refineries put together in Nigeria produced just 50, let's say like 50 million barrels throughout the year. They refine 50 million barrels throughout the year. You know that we have failed.
All right.
Because that's not even up to what
the
crude oil that Nigeria generates in a month.
Okay.
Yes.
Still to come, Governor Abdulaziz Yari sacks traditional rulers over alleged involvement in armed banditry. Says more to go. Stay with us. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this breather. And I welcome you to Journalist Hangout. For a long time, the armed banditry debacle in the northwest states, of Zamfara defied logics and festered unabated. But the state government appears to be changing tactics in its approach to bringing the scourge to an end by going to the roots and getting the sponsors of the bandits. At the weekend, Governor Abdulaziz Yari dethroned 7 traditional rulers in the state over their involvement in armed banditry ravaging the state. Speaking after the meeting with the vice president in Abuja on Monday, Governor Yari vowed that more traditional rulers will be removed if found backing banditry in the states. Jide, this is very, very serious because at a point in time, Governor Abdulaziz Yari said he's not the chief security officer of that state again because he was so frustrated. Now, I think the change of tactics of the state government, getting to the roots of things, that those bandits would not be successful or they cannot be working in isolation without internal support. Now, with this investigation, this is telling us something.
Yes, Yari is beginning to not just back now, but bite. He's beginning to bite. And for so long, many of us wondered what he was doing as governor. Things degenerated so much, and every time he would run to Abuja to complain to the president, he more than any governor, he's visited communities, visited traditional rulers to pay condolence. Every time a community is attacked, he will go there and pay condolence. Sometimes he will not even be in the state when it's happening, but he will come back, he will go and pay condolence. 2 weeks later, they will kill people in Zurumi, he will go and pay condolence. From Zurumi, they will move to Dansadao, he will go pay condolence. It's not enough to simply be paying condolence visits to emirs, district head, and the rest of them. You must get to the root of it. Remember Senator Seidu Dansadao said some time ago that traditional rulers were involved in this thing. He said it. At that time, people were, oh, it belongs to the opposition. That is why he's saying all this. Oh, as if what he was saying lacked substance. But we've seen now, from the interrogation of people arrested, they have confessed that traditional rulers were working in cahoots with them. Traditional rulers are giving them intelligence information, telling them the right time to come and strike.
Jide, how? Your subjects.
It's just money, just for money. These are district heads. They are coming, they will tell them when the right time to come. And when they are successful, the booty is shared. So this is what is happening. When people make these kind of claims or allegations, they shouldn't simply be swept under the carpet. You must go to the root. You must try to find out whether it is true or not. If Governor Yari had done this before now, maybe this would not have degenerated, because I'm certain now that this collaboration by of these district heads with the bandits will stop, because they know that they are going to be deposed and they will even face prosecution. But for so long, nobody harassed them, and the stories were on that these guys were working with the bandits. Dansadao went to Abuja, and he said it clearly, that the governor was not doing enough. So we're seeing the governor now extremely angry, and he's saying there are some moves that he's been making now since that last attack in Zurumi that suggest that he wants to solve this problem. But it's a little late because in a few months he will be out of office. But at least now he's trying to mop up the assault weapons in circulation, and is offering ₦1 million for each AK-47 recovered. So far, Yari has recovered just 10 AK-47s. When the bandits attack a town, they come on motorbikes carrying 3 persons each, and each of those 3 persons will have his AK-47. So if they've merely recovered 10, they still have a long way to go. And you saw what happened last week when they attacked a convoy of policemen. They killed dozens of policemen in Zurmi. So these guys, as you are going after them, they are changing tactics. They are going to the highway. The Air Force is bombing them in their hideouts. They've now moved out of their hideouts, going to the highway to pluck people out of commercial vehicles and then force them to pay ransom. So the government has to do its best. The local governments, like where these bandits are running riot, Anka, Maru, Shinkafi, they need to deploy security agents to those places and ensure that our people can live in peace.
Wale, I don't know, this angle of traditional rulers, because when I was growing up in Nigeria, traditional ruler is always somebody that will even protect his subjects, will even pray for peace of the land, and you know.
I think the people of Zamfara, they have my sympathy, because the state is almost under perpetual siege, armed banditry, killings, kidnapping. But I think the governor, in taking decisions, especially in a moment of, anger, he needs to be a bit cautious. For instance, on the issue of AK-47, that if you bring one AK-47 naira, you get ₦1 million. Well, in actual fact, there are about 200 versions of AK-47. Some are manufactured locally in Ghana, in Pakistan, different from the original one manufactured in Russia. Now, AK-47 in some countries goes for 48,000 naira. In Nigeria, it goes for about maybe 300,000, 400,000 naira, depending on the version. So if you ask people to come and to bring AK-47 and they get ₦1 million naira, mischievous people can see it as a way of making money. All they just need to do is to buy one AK-47, and then they earn about a profit of 600,000 naira. So this idea of removing traditional rulers, I think it's a very good idea. But then we need to look at it sociologically. There are some traditional rulers that support these bandits out of conquest, out of fear. If armed bandits take over a community, with arms, most of the traditional rulers have no option than to do their bidding. But there are criminal traditional rulers that collaborate with them. So we need to make a distinction. That is why the governor needs to carry out a lot of intelligence networking. The traditional lawyers are just individuals. Maybe in a community of, 5,000 people, we have only one traditional ruler. Apart from the traditional ruler, the community must also be encouraged to support the efforts of the government. And that means you need to hold a lot of town hall meetings, you need to hold a lot of constructive engagement with them to ensure that the community do not give safe havens to these bandits. Because Zamfara has a population of 3.2 million people. The level of poverty, how much does that generate in terms of IGR? The problem of poverty, and the fact that it borders Niger Republic, where it's borderless. People coming without immigration papers, there is no data for them coming from Niger, from Maghreb region, porous borders. So all sorts of people just pass through the desert and enter Zamfara. No records, no monitoring. So I don't think it's a problem the governor can solve alone. It needs, we should see it as a national problem. Because if they survive, see what is going on in Northeast. We cannot afford another armed insurgents in the Northwest. So we should see it as a national problem, and I think there should be a national response to assist the governor to resolve this problem.
Sikier.
Yes, I totally agree with my colleagues. The only problem I have there is the fail of intelligence on the part of the governor. I was a bit taken aback some time ago, just like Jesus said, when the governor came to say, I'm not the chief security officer of my state, then if you're not the chief security officer of your state, then you resign as a governor. Because why you are elected, one is to protect the life and the properties of the people you are to govern, irrespective of whatever challenges you are having. Their security should be your primary responsibility as a governor. That is why you are elected. Okay? Now to be able to also now liaise with all the security forces and the rest of them. I believe that what happened was that the governor tried as much as possible to play the role of an ostrich by hiding his head, just right inside it. But with what is happening now, I think is good enough. Now, that also brings us to local policing that we've been talking about for long.
Need to go.
That is, you understand what I'm saying? That is issue. Because most often than not, Igbos have a saying that it is the hand that knows how the ground tests in terms of whether it's hot or because it is permanently has its effect on it. If you have those, if you have that localized, you know that what you do with the JTF, the local JTF.
He has formed
the JTF and the rest of them.
He has formed them in his state.
Stadium. So now he's getting it right, and I hope you get that before you
those measures. He should have taken those measures
that before all this while.
All right, moving on now. Most times it requires desperate situation to drive us to taking desperate and drastic actions in life. In a desperate move to win the war against an insurgent Boko Haram group, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved emergency procurement of critical equipment for troops in the northeast. Nigeria's Minister of Defense, Mansour Danali, who made the disclosure during a meeting with service chiefs at the defense headquarters, also directed the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, to remain in the northeast until security situation there improves. The presidency also directed provision of enhanced welfare package for troops, especially those in operational areas. Babajide, good news, and let's start from. I remember in 2016, when President Muhammadu Buhari actually directed the service chiefs. I think that time, for the first time, to relocate to Maiduguri, and they had to put their command and what center in Maiduguri. Now they are now telling the Chief of Army Staff, or what difference does this make that the Chief of Army Staff should be in Maiduguri and direct the troop from there?
Oh, the directive is that he should, until the situation improves. I don't think he can wait there until the situation improves, except they have a different meaning to situation improving. My view is that in the 10 local governments that make up Borno North, there's not one that is safe. There's not one that is safe. You find a local government headquarters, yes, in the hands of Nigerian troops, safe. But outside of the local government headquarters, it's not safe. You will find even Konduga, for example. Konduga is the headquarters of Konduga local government on the way to Bama. It is safe, relatively. I've been there before. But outside Konduga and Dalori, other places are not safe. And that's the way it is. You find some of those local governments, if you look at a place like Monguno, we have the garrison. Outside Monguno, other towns and villages, people have even left. So how do we keep even those places? Nigerians, a lot of them have fled into Niger Republic, some have fled into Chad, because they don't want to die. That was why the Shehu of Borno said, look, we are still under siege. The Shehu of Borno, his territory is 16 local governments out of the 27 in Borno State. So Borno Central, there are 6 local governments in Borno Central that are under his territory. So when he says we are still under siege, he's talking about the 16 local governments that are his own territory. And all those local governments, you see, even Kalabalge and the rest of them, in some cases, just 2 towns are safe. 2 towns, 3 towns saved. The rest you can't go unless you are prepared to die. So how long can the chief of army staff stay in that area that will be guaranteed that you can drive through Damboa-Biu, Maiduguri-Damboa-Biu highway? You take the risk, the most dangerous highway in Nigeria, because they will come from inside Sambisa and to the highway and shoot. Even army convoys have been attacked repeatedly on the road. So when do we determine aid workers have been killed? Even army recruits have been seized on that road. So when do we determine when the area is safe for the chief of army staff to now return to his work at defense headquarters? I think that you know the defense minister merely just said that to impress people. After a while, he will leave. Remember when the president said they should, the service chief should relocate to Maiduguri? I said at that time that it will not work, that it will not stop the killings. And I have been vindicated. Because there's really no, it's just symbolic. The chief of army staff now is drawing up a plan to make the army offensive rather than a defensive fighting force. He said that, which also validates what we had been asking for. You know, he validates it. But you still see the enemy still attacking army bases even after that promise that they will go offensive. What happened in Bonegeri suggests that this is an enemy that is not prepared to even lie low. Just shortly after the president left the place, you are attacking a tank battalion of the Nigerian army and killing troops. Now, what pleases me in all of this is the president's promise, the president's directive to not just improve the welfare of the staff. You need, if you've been to Maiduguri or even Yobe State, you go to places like Boniyadi where we have a high concentration of troops, including the special forces. You see our troops. You see what they are going through. You see what they are going through. Many of them have been in the bush for so long. They need money. They come to a bank in the city. Our people are even reluctant to let the soldier be in the front and take his money. So we need to care so much about the welfare of these people. Then weapons. I've repeated it here that we suffer acute equipment deficiency. It is what I have been able to find out from soldiers on the front line. And I'm happy that the president has decided now that emergency weapons procurement should happen. It means that the president knows that that problem is there. So when we say it on this program, some people dismiss us as rabble-rousers, as noisemakers. The president knows that we have an equipment problem, and he's saying emergency procurement, meaning that wherever we can get those weapons, even if we get them through the black market or through a third party, we have to find them. We can't wait. If we want to wait for America and all of these countries that are playing for America and all of these countries that are playing games with us or refusing to sell weapons to us, they will finish killing on our soldiers. So wherever we can find it, that's the key word, emergency procurement. That means whatever we can do, we must get the weapons that these boys need.
Wale, talking about emergency procurement, and yesterday after the show that we're talking about the intrigues, what it takes to get weapon that the game. Okay, our Super Tucano now has been deferred 2022 or 2024. Yes. So if we can't get it, and you can't get a weapon on the shelf, you will have to order, and you have to place your order and get some time.
Even the French are reluctant to sell to us.
To sell to us. In 2000, the aircraft that went to South Africa, confiscated and everything. So it's very difficult to get this kind of weapons at the black market. But right now, we need it. And this is what the president has just approved, emergency procurement of critical equipment for troops in the Northeast. How do you go about this?
Well, as a sovereign nation, I believe, which also is fighting an issue that is of global concern, which is terrorism. I believe Nigeria can still get weapons legitimately. Even if America does not want to sell, there are so many countries.
There are so many allies. Americans have so many allies that they get.
So I think Nigeria can still get weapons, either directly or indirectly, being the end user of those weapons. Well, I think the underlying word is emergency. He has said the weapons must be sourced with the spirit of emergency. That means that probably we are thinking of weeks instead of waiting for months.
For months of order.
But beyond, he also raised the issue of welfare and then relocation of, I think these are very important issues. The issue of weapons, the issue of welfare, and then relocation of the military headquarters to Borno. But then, these are not new mayors. They have been on and on and on. So we want a situation where we should go beyond rhetorics into practice, that the statements are not just mere political statements, that there must be follow-up mechanisms
walk the talk
to ensure that we walk the talk. And then beyond, the idea of weapons, these are not just enough. These are not enough to win the war, because while winning the war, you must also think of how to win the peace. These people are Nigerians. So for me, I personally believe that we must have a political roadmap, an economic roadmap, if we are interested in solving this problem that has been on since 2009. I'm not opposed to negotiation, because we can't continue to see our people die, civilians and soldiers, every time. So we need to work out
these ones are not ready for negotiation.
A political roadmap, an economic roadmap, because terrorism is an hydra-headed problem.
Don't know what they want.
It may never end unless we look for a local way of resolving it. So I think, for me, I believe
the person
negotiation.
who wanted negotiation is the person they have killed.
Yeah,
Mama, no.
Tikian, talking in terms of welfare, because we've had to speak with some guys at the war front there and everything, in terms of their allowances and everything. They still delay their allowances, they still delay all sort of things. And I don't think it's fair for people to be fighting day and night for us, and somebody is still delaying what is due to them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Let me just go a little bit back. We are talking of procurement of equipment and the rest of them, but to also realize the fact that it was quite shocking that some of the money that was even approved were not released. Remember that now?
Spoke about that.
You know that they spoke, yes.
You remember that Nigerians were talking about where's the $1 billion? Where's the $1 billion?
That they are the money that they are using it for political this thing and rest. And the military has to come out and say that we have not even gotten this money. Those are the issues. And just as rightly said, these are not just things that you just go to the black market.
Shouldn't even come
into that himself. It's not supposed to. It's an emergency situation. We are not supposed to waste any time on that. Okay, that's the issue. Now back to your issue. Also, other dimension I'm also looking at is that the way we are trying to politicize these issues. We are politicizing this issue. That shouldn't be. You don't do that in the United States of America. You don't do that you don't say in America, whether you're in a position or you're in government, criticizing your critical forces. Military. When it comes to issue of security, both opposition and the government in power come together and march. We don't do that here. This way, everybody come here. We started this. It didn't start now. Just before the election, some people were just saying, "Oh, once we come in, we didn't have many months. We'll clear these people and the rest." So we come to realize that what we were thinking is not a conventional war. It's not as easy as we thought it was going to be. Now the issue is that we can have all the equipment we want. But if those that are supposed to use the equipment are not well maintained, because there are so many videos we've seen. There were some pictures as an online publisher. There are some pictures that I see that we can't even use. Where you see our troops that were wounded, lying down and have their legs tied, and the rest of them, they can't eat. Most of them can't eat. So we are shouting and the rest of them. I think this is the right time for us to know, not only while we are looking at getting the equipment to fight these people, there will be human beings to take care of you, which is very, very critical. And those are very angles that we should be looking at as well.
I know sometimes we are in touch with these people because there's a way they find to reach out to us. To want to tell us their pride. Some of the officers might not want to talk, but sometimes those are the front line. They reach out to us.
The day that Sani called us to say that the army had arrested those who attacked the university lecturers.
Yes, Meduguri.
And we were all happy. We were excited that the army rose to the occasion. a soldier called to say it was a lie. And we now discovered, the following morning, I told the correspondent, I said, go to the university. And he met them doing a funeral procession. Meanwhile, someone had called us to say, no, we arrested all of them. We seized their weapons. So the truth is...
I know they tell you in terms of their welfare too.
I'm telling you, even the issue of weapons. Even it's just that you cannot be explicit on air.
No.
They will tell you that, look, in this army base, we have only one gun truck, and that one gun truck is even unserviceable. We have one T-72, but it's unserviceable. So there are details to this thing, but you can't, as a journalist, come on air and give some critical information that can embarrass your country. So I'm happy. You can say we have equipment issue, but you don't have to go into details. I tried my best not to do that. And the president has recognized that there's a need to do something about equipment. And he has given that directive. All we can do is to encourage them to, as much as possible, make sure that they deliver the equipment. Whatever we can do. America was very unfair to us. We wanted to buy Chinook helicopters. They called the people, don't sell to Nigeria. You know, a lot of those things. And France, that France is here in love with our neighbors. France refuses to arm Nigeria because it thinks that it will make Nigeria eminently powerful in this sub-region. It doesn't want that to happen. Whereas it's giving all that Chad needs. Chad has perhaps one of the best air force in Africa. We supply them with weapons. They supply other people. But we try our best. We want to get them to say to us, since America is not prepared to say, we are having problems with that. It's not as if our generals are not making efforts to get some of these weapons. But there's international conspiracy making it difficult.
Frustrating
we
their
even
efforts.
thank Trump. Because if Obama had behaved like Trump, by now we will have had those Tucanos. If a country like Mali has Tucano, why shouldn't we have? Yes. Tucano, they've used it in Afghanistan, they've used it in Mali. And we need it. But we are finding it difficult.
We have to go. I want to thank you, Mr. Wale Adeyi. Thank you for all your brilliant contribution every time. I want to thank you, my friend Sikian, all the way from Ibadan, Sikian, baby lawyer. Thank you. Thank you for finding out time to stay with us. And the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade, thank you so much. All right, and that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platform showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.